Okay, can you see me? Uh-oh, we're gonna get the
I
audio
got you.
going. There you are, I hear you.
What's going on?
Oh, all is well. Are you gonna love this angle? You like your angle? Because we're recording now, but we'll edit all of this. So get it nice and level wherever you want it to do, and give me thumbs up when I can go. You look good, hair looks good. You'll wanna try and look in the camera just so you can look like you're talking to us.
Right there?
Nope, not yet. You look, you're looking somewhere else.
Doesn't look like I'm looking in the camera.
Nope, not yet. Trying our. There we go. Like in that little circle. There you go. I almost try again. I'll tell you when you're looking at me. So it looks like you're looking at me. There, I think I got you.
Okay, hold on. How about I move over?
Okay. I'm trying to contain my utter excitement. You're gonna just look right in that little circle camera.
Yeah, see mine
Yeah,
just okay, cool.
Nope, you're gone now. But okay, you know where you were hopefully when I told you. So people think you're talking to them.
Right here?
Nope, keep moving your eyes around until we lock you in. There, not your head, just your eyes, so we can get your eye contact. There, almost. Keep moving them around. So there, yep, come some more to your left. Keep moving up to your left. Like, look at it. Are you looking in the hole?
Right here?
There you are. I see. Now it looks like you're looking at me. Whatever you're looking at, that looks like you're looking at
That's
me.
what
Now
you want me to get.
there you
Okay.
are.
I got you.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Okay, we'll count down in 3, 2, 1. I am so excited. I am trying to contain myself. I'm wearing my very special, I'm an important, dignified, civilized person glasses just so I can pretend to be a very composed individual. But my students, you all know that I am thrilled because I have been talking up this person and he is finally here. And this is, as all of you know, because many of you, the majority of you are 18 to 35, female, usually Black, and you're a singer either in the church, you were in the church, you are singing now, but you're doing indie and you're still in church, so whatever it is. And so you know this guy because he's a part of all of our backgrounds. And so silently, he won't hear it, give a round of applause to Percy. Okay, that's as much as I'm going to do. And then I'm gonna be silly because you guys know I'm silly. I want him to like me a little bit. This is my inner fan coming out. Okay, ladies? All right. So I am thrilled because this individual has literally been the foundation for a lot of our music. Even though many of us were creating music, my songwriters as well as my singers were singing music. Those of us who are also in the R&B genre, those of you who are coming to me who are still loving jop, but you or pop, but you know, rhythm blues started in the church, and all of that is this guy. But this guy has had a lot of crossover. You already know his bio. And so we're going to get to peek into the mind of who he is and not just be reading about it in a bio. All right. So I have all your questions in front of me. Don't worry about it. We're going to cover everything. And we're just going to start off with, hey, can you want to hear his voice? This is what he sounds like.
Hey, what's happening?
This is what he sounds like. He's a genuinely amazing person. What did you do this morning? How do you start your day? Where did you worship?
I did church today. I did church today. I had to play this morning at J.W. James Memorial Church, AME Church in Maywood. So that's where I was this morning. And it was all good. This?
So he's still playing in church. Do you feel that keeps you on your toes, or does it actually sometimes restrict you being in the church?
It can be restricting, but in this case, it's really more about me helping a ministry. I'm helping this ministry out. I'm helping them build, helping them grow. They've gone through a transition and they needed some help. And so God said, you got to help them. So I'm helping.
That was my next question. How do you choose who to help? I know a lot of my artists are always feeling burned, especially in churches. And so you can hear the voice of God. How did you know God said help them? Because you're a busy guy.
It was the mutual feeling when I first went there. It was the feeling of comfortability. It was seeing a need. It was seeing the genuineness of the pastor and the members. nothing contrived, anything like that. So I watched and I saw where I could help. And rather than be the person that points the finger and said, they need to do this, need to do that, do that.
Yeah.
I said, let me roll up my sleeves. And God said, yeah, that's what I want you to do. You know,
Wow.
so, and it's been a blessing, you know. I've been there about a couple months. And not sure how long I'll be there, but
yeah.
I'm praying that I'm there long enough to help establish their music department, help build it, help cultivate a culture of growth, maturity, and prayerfully, you know, galvanize some people who are talented there in the church and put them to work.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about the name of the church. What type of sound is it? Is that a thing that you even adopt? Like, okay, we have a culture we're trying to maintain, we have a sound, or is it, I'm organic, let's figure it out as we go?
Well, there's definitely a sound. If you know anything about the AME church church is steeped in hymns, you know, but they're also progressive in that they do anthems and they do contemporary and they do urban and they do it all. You know, they're capable of singing it all. So it's not about really developing a sound more than developing how that sound really comes together.
Okay, great. So the key components to you, which is actually one of our questions here, for developing a sound, or as they put it, a brandable sound, what are some of the key components to making you memorable?
Key components would be, one, being original. When you sound like everything else and everybody else, you don't stand out. So ideally, you want to be original. You want to stay true to what you sound like and develop that and perfect that. So when you present it, people will identify it as something that they've never heard before, but something that they always want to hear. So it's well,
when you go too far, because we have a lot of that, and then it's a sound that no one wants to be, they can't connect with it. So when do you go too far in creating your own sound and being different?
When you limit yourself to only you hearing it. So when you're trusting, when you're trusting just your own gut and not allowing there to be some level of exchange with somebody that you trust and somebody who would be honest. You have to, you got to surround yourself with people who will be honest and who will tell you if it's great, if it's good, if it's not, if it's bad, if it's horrible, if it stinks, if it's, you need that. You need it for a lot of reasons, but the main reason you need it is because you don't want to stretch yourself so far out that you are no longer relatable. You can't relate. You're not relative, because you got a lot of people, they avant-garde and they're all of that. But you can avant-garde yourself out of an audience.
Okay.
You don't have an audience. So the key is being genuine, but being genuine enough to still be relative, where people get where you're coming from.
So are you basically your own compass, and then you need to measure your compass against other people you trust's perspective? Is that it?
Yeah, you're your own compass first. You have to be your own compass first. And the reason why you have to be your own compass first is because there needs to be some genuineness that you can recognize.
Okay.
They have a saying, game recognizes game. Well, genuineness recognizes genuineness. Or as C.C. Winans would say, what's from the heart reaches the heart.
So let's start about no one really knows truly your beginning. I got a chance to be a part of your fantastic songwriters circle. And so I have a little more insight into your beginning, but I know many of our students don't know. They just know how you started. And you wrote, I Believe I Can Fly. And you wrote you wrote all the songs we know, but no one knows the work ethic and how it started and where does it start for you? And a lot of our students have I think a similar background where it's not as impressive or illustrious starting out. And I think that would be helpful for them to understand the beginnings. So how did you even get into music? When did it click that this was actually what you were going to do, etc.?
Well, I was born with a gift, a musical gift. I was born with that gift.
When did you recognize that? Your mama said it, or you knew?
My mom recognized it when I was 3 years old, because she said I was 3 and I was humming things that I would hear.
Okay.
And so I recognized it when I was 6 years old. So when I was 6 is when my mom, there was a department store called Zayre's back in the day. Back then, Zayre's was the Target or Walmart.
Right. Yeah.
And so my mom took me, we were in Zayre's, and there was an electronic aisle where they had all these different, radios and TVs, and then they had this little keyboard organ thing. And so I started playing. I started playing it and messing around. I heard what was playing over the speakers in the store, and I started playing that. And instantly my mom recognized that, there was something special there. And so she just started cultivating. And
what does that look like, to cultivate?
To cultivate, meaning she encouraged me. She encouraged me. She did the things that she felt would be necessary to help grow what she saw as something being special.
So that was verbal encouragement, or courses, or you went to school?
No. So yeah, well, partly verbal, but
okay.
But no, they went back to the store and they bought that particular keyboard.
Oh, got it.
So I could have something to play, to practice on. And so at home, I'm at home playing and playing and playing every day, to the point where, they would come and shut it down because I would never stop. And I want to say by the time I was 8 years old, my mom verbally called me out in church and told me to come up to the keyboard and play.
No.
Nobody in the church knew I could play.
No.
Because it been at home.
Yeah.
But at 8 years old, she called me up to play, and she got ready to sing, and I accompanied my mom.
What was this song? Do you remember?
The song was called "I'm a Soldier."
Wow.
Yeah. The song was called "I'm a Soldier." I'll never forget it.
Okay.
It was a very nerve-wracking moment.
You're 8 years old. Yeah.
8 years old, and
wow.
But it was a moment I'll never forget, because it was the moment that I realized that what I've been practicing and what I've been doing at home was much bigger than just me doing it at home. It was something that would be just as big outside of the home. So, and during that same time, I remember going to my mom's god sister's house. They were playing cards and laughing and joking, and there was an old upright piano there. And as they're laughing and joking, I go over to the piano and I start playing. Everybody drops the cards, come over to the piano, and they start singing. And I'm playing the piano and they're singing. And at that moment, I realized I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. This is what I'm going to do. And because, it brought us together. It brought the people together.
Yeah.
It caused people to sing together. It made people happy. It made people dance. And so it was communal. Yeah. And so I knew then, this is why I'm created.
And at this stage, were you just playing by ear only still, or had your mom introduced you?
Only by ear.
Wow.
Only by ear. I didn't have any formal education until I got older, much older. Yeah. My mom tried to take me to get lessons, I think maybe when I was 15 or, no, I was younger than that, maybe 12, 13. And the teacher at the time said, hey, his ear is so far advanced.
I don't want to mess it up.
I had to break them all the way down because, at the time it was the teacher was a classical teacher.
Right, of course.
So, there's a whole lot of practice and principles and disciplines that you have to learn. And he just said, you know what, when he gets older, if he decides to do it, he'll do it because he wants to do it.
Because he wants to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did eventually go back to get theory because I started doing recording sessions with people who were talking a language that I didn't understand.
Right.
And it's very important to be able to communicate that language. So I could play with anybody. It wasn't that I couldn't play the music,
just
but it was the communication and the lack of communication and the lack of understanding that can slow things down. Yeah.
It's good to hear you say that because we're having a lot, especially our females going into the studios and they're feeling, you know, misheard, or that they're lacking in communication. And they're like, should I learn theory? Because I know what I want, but I'm humming the notes. I'm trying to explain to the male producer and I'm feeling like, you know, there's a big disconnect. And what would you say to a vocalist who's not a player, who's trying to create her authentic sound with musicians who may be trained or by ear?
Well, you know, obviously it would be advantageous for them to know some theory to be able to communicate with somebody who's intelligent, musically intelligent, I'd say. It would be great to know. And it's good to know also to protect yourself. You know, I mean, if you're creating something with somebody but you know, you're creating the melody or you're creating the lyric, you need to understand what that really means. And
what route would you suggest? What route would you suggest that they take for basic theory? So
basic theory. I would say
college, or you like one that's Berkeley.
I went to a private school.
Okay.
Back in the day, you know, we had the Chicago Conservatory of Music.
Okay.
And so, you know, I went there and took lessons on Saturday and basically just learned theory, you know, learned enough to communicate, to understand. You know, can I sight read? I can sight read, but I'm horrible at it.
Really?
I'm very horrible at it. I'm very slow.
This would be very encouraging for people to hear this.
Yes, I'm very slow with it. You know, so if you give me a piece of music, give me about a year to learn it, you know.
No.
No, it wouldn't be that long, but it would take a minute, you know.
It'll take you a minute. So what is it, you said people who are musically intelligent, how do you feel now about music, just in the world, whether it's music being sung or played? Do you feel it's being intelligently done? And if there are any artists, obviously this is mainly a vocalist course, but if there are any artists or musicians that you are impressed with as far as the intelligence of how they're musically performing, who would those be?
Well, first, I think, you know, where we are musically right now is I think we peaked in terms of, there's a generation of people who have not discovered their own identity because they were trying to be everything that's already existing.
Yeah.
You know, because record labels and such have said, well, we want this, we want it to sound like this, or we want it to look like this, or we want it to be this, which is not, it's not advantageous for you as an artist because it doesn't give you the ability to have your own identity in a marketplace that screams for originality. And the one person that I identify with, who I think is above bar when it comes to that, is her. Mm-hmm. Because she can play, she understands it, she can speak it, she can sing it, and she can write it. Mm-hmm. And so, and her identity to me is not steeped in something that already exists. I think she found her niche, she perfected it, and then she introduced the world to it, and now she's a household name.
And they did a great job protecting her at such a young age.
Well, her mom and dad were very active in her life. You know, her mom and dad were very active.
She was signed, because I know they usually kind of separate you, but they've managed to do that.
No, they've been involved from the beginning. There's some old YouTube videos of her when she was very, very young, sitting at the piano, playing piano and singing. So this girl has been groomed for where she is. And, you know, so she has her parents to thank for, you know, having her own identity in this marketplace that's screaming for everything to sound the same and look the same.
Well, let's talk about that. Right, but we want you to be original, right? So
Right.
you came through that, I think, even more because I'm knocking on 40, right? Next year I'll be knocking on 40, but I
What?
didn't really get a chance.
You don't
Yeah.
look a day over. You don't look a
You
day
know,
over
you've been married,
25.
you've been happily married for a long time. You knew that trick. Well done, sir. Well timed. She has properly prepared you for all the rest of us women.
Uh,
So no, I didn't get to really live in the Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, and the Temptations, right? Where it was just music and you sang about a bunch of stuff. It wasn't just you're only singing about sex or you're only singing about anger and drugs or you're only CCM and there's gospel. I know I heard them singing about politics and then they went spiritual to holy, holy, and then you heard about let's get it on. So there was so much breadth of covering not only topics but also sounds, and then like you said it became streamlined. Can you kind of give us a history and how you experienced the transition from music becoming more narrow and then how you feel we can get back to it becoming more
well, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the time that I grew up
yeah,
in,
yeah,
because, like you said, the music was a bunch of things. It was political.
yeah,
It was inspirational.
yeah,
It was people standing up for what they believed in.
yeah,
Um, it was gospel. It was
mm-hmm.
um, it was a whole lot of what is how I felt. However I wanted to relay my message, I relayed my message, and there was an audience, and
Yeah,
there was nobody saying you can't say that or you can't do that because that's not this, or it doesn't look like this, or it doesn't
yeah,
sound like that. It wasn't any of that.
yeah,
Um, if you studied the history and the culture of our people and where we come from, a lot of the songs that we sang, during slave trade and everything, were call and response. There were
yeah,
songs that were encouraging to one another
yeah,
about, getting out of um, the oppression that they were facing and the
yeah,
challenges that they were facing. And so that music became um, the foundation for what we called um, gospel, in a sense, at the time. Um, Thomas Dorsey, the father of gospel music, who was a pianist for Betsy Smith, who was a blues singer.
yeah,
And so when he first came to the church and he was writing, gospel songs, but he was kind of playing these blues chords, the church didn't really like it. And
yeah,
so there was a challenge there with accepting, the fact that, that this sounds like the world, but the reality is that it didn't sound like the world. It sounded like him. And it was just the fact that he changed his position and where he was. And so I think what we've seen happen in music is that we went from uh, caring about how our women were viewed. We went from talking about how mama, I love you, mama, Sadie. We went from talking about the backyard barbecue. We went from talking about let's get together, come together, um, must be a beautiful lady, isn't she lovely?
right.
We went from all those things somehow to drugs,
Like a what,
to
30, like a 3 decade span almost, maybe
like
less? What do you think?
like a three,
Three
yep,
decades, like
like a
70, so yeah.
decade span. Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that if you don't keep our culture and where we come from in front of those who come behind us, they'll never know. So
Well, how are
the
we going to
hit
do this? Like, how are we doing this? If like that's what I was saying, how did we get bottlenecked into this sound, and then how do we get back the authority of
money,
control?
money did it because we got offered money and money said, okay, the people who were giving the money said, okay, we need you to do this. And instead of us saying, no, I'm going to stick to my culture, I'm going to stick to what's important, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, No, we took the money. Just like when we did, when I did I Believe I Could Fly with R. Kelly, that was a monster hit. It was a monster song. It immediately put him in a whole nother category.
Yeah.
Probably in the same lane as a Michael Jackson, in the sense of worldwide, how he was being embraced.
Right.
But instead of him kicking the door down, he wanted to go back. I need to keep it real with my people, and I need to, and what is that? What is keep it real with my people? When your voice is being heard by the world, when your stage, the stage that you have and the opportunity you have is the world. When people are hearing you in languages and in countries that you've never visited and you've never seen, what does that mean? The impact is much bigger. But we have to stay. This is why you have to stay true to who you are, because your audience is there. Your audience may not be who Kanye's audience is.
Mm-hmm.
Your audience may not be who Her's audience is, but you have an audience.
Okay.
And it's up to you to consistently do what you do long enough to find that audience. And so that audience also finds you. And so,
is that what you did? Because you've navigated different genres that people don't like to tap into.
Well,
and
yeah.
I'm trying to hear the dichotomy of something you're saying. You're saying, hey, maintain your authenticity, your culture, but branch out and don't be afraid to leave it. Is that what you're saying? I'm trying to understand what.
So yeah. So I'm saying, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Don't be afraid to step outside. The reason why the church has a problem with Kanye has nothing to do with what people think it is. They have a problem with Kanye is because Kanye has taken the church out of a building.
Correct.
He's taken it out of a building.
But they're concerned with his history. They're not sure if he's going to be reputable also in a long-term sense because of his background.
Yeah, I get it. The Pharisees said the same thing. Jesus, the disciples said the same thing about the Pharisees. The Pharisees said it about the disciples.
Sure.
The Pharisees was down. The Pharisees saw the disciples casting out demons and went and said, we're going to do the same thing. And they went and was casting out demons. And the disciples came to Jesus and said, look,
right,
they don't follow us. They're not a part of us.
Right.
And they down there casting out devils in Jesus' name. You know what Jesus said?
Let them keep doing it.
Let them keep doing it.
Yeah.
Those who are not against us are for us. So what you learn is that, yeah, I'm going to maintain my sense of authenticity. But what I have to understand is that even in doing that, I have to expand who I am as it relates to who I want to reach. If I have a target audience, if I have a demographic that I'm going after, I need to know how to reach that demographic. And that demographic may not be in church. That demographic may not be the Sunday go to church person, but they may be the club person. They may be the concert going person. And if they are, then you do what Kanye did. He created a platform where they came and where they will come.
Do you feel him being a celebrity help with that? Do you think someone who wasn't?
Of course it did. Of course it did. Of course it did help.
But let's
look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
The bigger picture is that he took an audience that he already had, and he's leading them in a whole nother direction now. Who can say that? That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Now whether he maintains, the fruit remains.
Right.
That's that we'll see over the long run.
We'll see.
But the reality is now
everyone has said that about you. You've maintained and your fruit has remained. You want to give us some hints in the industry on how you're doing that? Ain't nothing dirty came out about you. Like, I don't know who you killing, are you burying all the bones, or you're just genuinely a believer. But we have a lot of burned, frustrated, and I think in many cases, some of my vocalists are rebelling, all right, because of pains happening in the church, and that's tainting their own voice musically. How have you been able and endure. You've been behind the veil. You know who the Wizard of Oz is. So you've seen some of the mess that happens, but maintain your faith, maintain your heart. You're still very genuine and kind, and there's so much integrity. What is it that's guiding you? What's your compass?
My compass is this, knowing that at the end of the day, I'm going to give an account for everything I do.
Mm-hmm. You
so
believe that. You believe that. You really believe you're going to have a conversation with Jesus when you die.
I honestly believe that God is not going to hold me accountable for what Amanda does. I honestly believe he's going to say, Percy, I gave you a gift. I gave you a gift. And when someone gives you a gift, you cherish the gift.
That's
you
good.
Nurture, you love the gift. You handle the gift a certain way. He's going to say, Percy, I gave you a gift. What did you do with your gift? How did you use your gift? Did you inspire others? Did you encourage others? Did you uplift others? Did you use your gift to expose others to who I am? Did you use your gift, man, to make people happy, to make people sing? Anything good that happens, does not happen by chance. It happens because there's a spirit inside of us that causes us to want to do good. And to navigate in an industry where there's perversion, there's money, there's all kinds of, to navigate in that, you first of all have to really be completely settled on who you are. Okay. Because I think most people who change, they're suffering an identity crisis.
But they think they know who they are. They're saying they're being real. This is my truth. Like, how do they not know? That's the whole phrase.
But how do you know your truth if you've never spent time with yourself to know?
It's just time.
If you've never, if you're 20, you haven't lived long enough. You know what I'm saying? No.
Should 20-year-olds not be signed? Should they not go for the?
I'm not saying they shouldn't be signed, but I think they should be signed, and I think they should have somebody assigned to them who can help them walk through. It's no different than some of the NBA players who come out of college and making all this money. The NBA needs to make an effort to connect them to some people who can help them, guide them through the earlier part of their journey, so when they're older, they're not broke. Yes. So they're, because you buy. When I first signed my first deal was worth 1.2 or 1.3, and I had 300,000 liquid wired into my account immediately.
How old were you then?
I had never. This was, I was probably 40. I may have been 40. I may have been.
Okay, that's okay. Got it.
And this money wired into my account, but because I had never had anybody sit with me and help me understand how money works and help me show me how to use money, how to make money work. I took my money and I went and bought everything I thought I wanted,
of course,
musically, because I was a gearhead.
Yeah.
I bought everything I thought I wanted. I paid off all my mom's bills, paid off my sister's bills, my family, helped my family out.
Yeah.
I didn't grow the money at all. I didn't make the money work for me.
Right.
Which is what you should do when you do that. So when you're young and you're 20 and they're telling you you're incredible, you're talented. Oh my goodness, you're this, you're that. You need to have somebody else on the opposite side who are telling you, yeah, you're all of that, but you need to be patient. Let me help you with this. Let me help you with that. See, there's no artist development anymore.
No.
They want you to come. They want you to come to the table already there.
And that was mainly a money decision, you think? Or is it really sabotage? Like, are they trying to not let there be any type of accountability? Or was it we just can't pay the people no more?
I think it's because they can't pay. They don't want to pay. They can't pay. They don't want to pay. Okay. They don't want to pay. Record labels are run now by bean counters and lawyers. Bean counters, accountants, and lawyers. They wouldn't know a hit if it hit them in the head. All they look at is checks and balances.
Well, how are you navigating that? Because your art. There's a huge tension point with my artists who are like, I don't want to, have to market this and commercialize this. I don't want to be the bean counter and have to brand it and count it. And then there's the artist. Like, how are you naturally left brain and right brain, or did you have to develop that skill?
I think you have to develop that skill, and then you have to find your circle. You got to galvanize your tribe. There's a book called Tribes that I read, and it talks about galvanizing your tribe, finding people who are just as crazy as you are about what it is that you're crazy about, and who are willing to walk that line and walk that path and that journey with you, regardless of what the cost may be, knowing that if one gets there, we all get there.
So who was a part of your tribe early on?
My early tribe was my brothers. Your brothers? My early tribe was my brothers, because we all were musically talented. You know? And so, and there was a couple others outside of that, but for the most part, that was my early tribe. I didn't know them to be a tribe at the time, but when I read this book and understood what a tribe was, that was my tribe. My mother was a part of my tribe. The people who cultivate an expectation of greatness in you, the people who push you to be great, to not be good, but great, because good is just above average. Average, and is just above, bad. So you don't want to be average. You don't want to be good. You want to be incredible. You want to be great. You want to be spectacular, amazing. Those are the things. If you strive for that, and you come somewhere in between that and above average or good, you're doing fine.
So what was it about you that you feel warranted you the opportunity to finally at 40 make 1.3 as a deal? Like, what was it about you that was great?
I had established myself as a songwriter. I had really established myself as a great songwriter and producer.
How did you do that?
People were trusting me with the projects by delivering the product, by being able to work with an artist and give that artist exactly what their expectation was. So when they walked away, they would say, I would work with him again, and I'm going to tell such and so and so. I'm going to tell the world about him. And so that became my calling card. That was the thing. I didn't have to call. I didn't have to speak to anybody. If I knew a record was being worked on and I wanted to work on it, I would be like, hey, I got a song for this record, this particular project. And they would be like, hey, we'd love to hear it.
And this is back in the day when you could just walk up and shake someone's hand and be talented.
This back in the day when it was that.
You were being available.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's a part I know with my, especially younger students, they're like on Instagram, they're trying to just make it happen overnight. And I think that's a work ethic or just a mindset that they're having a difficult time. It's like, when is it going to happen? I'm saying, well, it takes time. And that's hard for them to believe that I should be overnight. I should have a video. Why haven't I been discovered? Why I keep putting myself out here?
Well, it takes time. I just had this conversation with my son. My son is a heck of a basketball player, but he's having a real challenging time right now. And one, because he was hidden, and he's a gem, and he was hidden. And but I shared a story with him that I just saw yesterday. The guy who won the Heisman Trophy Award for 3 years didn't play. For 3 years, nobody knew him. His name was nobody.
So he was playing, but no one knew him, or he wasn't playing.
Nobody knew him. He wasn't really playing. He wasn't really playing. He was suiting up, dressed up.
Right. Oh, wow.
For 3 years, he had, moved around from one team to another team. My son has had the same story.
Wow.
Then this one coach took a chance. And this kid is the best thing that they have seen.
What?
He has the highest rating ever in votes for the Heisman Trophy. And when he got up and gave his speech, he cried and talked about how the coach did not understand what he did for him and his family by taking a chance on him. So I'm saying this to say that just because you're doing whatever you're doing on Instagram and you're posting vids and you're, all of this, and nobody's responding, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Delayed is
Wow.
not denied.
Wow.
You know, you just have to keep grinding. You got to keep pushing, because there's a perfect time. There's a time for it. There's a time. And it's also called preparation. You know, it's preparation. You're preparing yourself for that moment, that one moment in time that I get a chance, that one moment in time that I get the chance to stand in front of somebody who could really open the door for me.
Yeah. And we have had this conversation, right, students? And you're saying that's baloney, that's old folk, that's not the new digital world. You have to keep exposing yourself, and it should happen like, you know, the Kardashians overnight. And I say, well, they have 18 seasons. They've been building a mammoth empire. They had several seasons before you knew about them on Instagram. Twitter wasn't even a thing. Like, we're forgetting the process. And this process is just, there's just a journey. And it's really interesting to hear you, who is accomplished on the other side of where we would even want to be, say the same thing. You just have to put the time and the grind in. Tell me some. So in this grinding, timing, sometimes despair, you lose hope. How do you maintain inspiration? Literally, like practically, what do you do to keep yourself inspired to make a new sound and keep your music fresh?
Honestly, you want to tell you honestly?
We love these kind of tricks.
Okay. I read the Bible. Really? I'll be honest with you.
In the morning, how do you do it? By candlelight? Like what?
I do it morning. I do it during the day. I do it at night. The Bible has a remedy for every situation you could encounter. It really does.
Yeah, it does.
And what I've learned is that when I'm inside of myself and I'm trusting myself only, is when I'm actually positioning myself to fail. So what I've learned is to lean not to my own understanding. What I've learned is that, you know, here's what I have. This is my gift. This is what you gave me. I'm going to give it back to you. I'm going to acknowledge you in everything I do. And I'm going to trust you to show me the path and show me the right path. And so is it daunting to not know and still believe? It surely is. It really is.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes it gives you anxiety attacks. Because, you know, because you're like, man, you know, but the reality is that the Bible says, be anxious for nothing, by everything, by prayer and supplication, make your requests known. So I've learned to do that. And I've learned that when something doesn't happen that I want to happen, it doesn't mean it won't. Maybe it just means not right now. And then sometimes we're not prepared. You know, look at me. I got $300,000 cash wired to me, and I wasn't prepared to handle it.
That's good.
I wasn't prepared. But if I had been prepared, I'd have had, God knows, 100 times that now.
Right. So I get this I share this all the time with my students. Every morning I'm up at least 4:30, 5 o'clock, no later than 6. I'm spending time. I light a candle. It's my way of being able to intimately connect with the Lord. We have our either worship music on or the Bible, or I just sit quietly and I'm available. If you want to say something, you got a person here on earth who's just sitting here to be available if you want to talk. But I'm always given I'm often given the conversation that's outdated. That doesn't work. And so you're saying for you today, this is still what you are doing. You're not giving up the Christian legalese. You are also really doing this today.
This is still relevant today. Wow. I woke up this morning, 4 o'clock.
Yep.
I tried to go back to sleep. I couldn't. I said, okay, God, you want to talk?
Yep.
so I let's talk.
Let's talk.
You know, and I just think God honors when you give him the first part of your day. I think he honors when you recognize that he wants some time. I think he honors that. And you know what? I without trying to be super deep, I will tell you this. God will cause things to happen for you. The Bible says in Psalms that the king's heart is in the Lord's hand and he turns it however he sees fit.
Yes.
you know. And so if that's the case, then, you know, the door that was closing can be opened just by fellowship, by spending time with the Lord, telling him, look, this is what I need. This is what I desire. And we've been told, you know, for so long that God is not concerned with what we want and what we desire. He's not this God who's a genie, and he's not this God who's just going to give you what you want. No, 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 no. The Bible says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Delight. What does delight mean? Make yourself happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, get in his way.
Yeah.
Get in his face.
Yeah.
Be excited about who he is.
Yeah.
All of those things, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So what are the desires of your heart? Then you have to define what that is for yourself. Don't let anybody else define that for you. Because there are some people who are losing careers and who are losing themselves because they're letting others define what that is.
That's good. So we have one of our senior seasoned students asking a question that I think specifically you'll be really helpful for. So we're talking about outdated, like we just said, this is an outdated method of listening to the Lord, which is confirming to hear. It's wonderful to hear you say these things. As a person in the industry who is doing it, ladies, okay? We only hear the stuff on the stories and the newspapers that we feel are the bad guys in the industry. This is a gentleman who is still doing it in the industry today, and this is one of his methods of doing it, and that's great. But we're talking about being outdated, right? One of her questions is, well, how do you not feel like you're left behind when you're in the music industry and the sound is just nothing like the sounds you're hearing, whether it's trap, whether it's whatever, is very processed. Do you feel challenged? Do you feel like I'm going to hold to myself? Are you able to flow and adjust? Are you like, no, I'm not going to adjust. I still have my own niche. How are you making it internally and externally with your art in a world that does not sound like, you know, the 80s and 90s?
Well, one way you do it is you got to stay, stay current.
You do have to stay current. Don't be so out. Yeah, stay current. Okay.
You got to stay relevant. You got to stay current. But for me, what I do is I have some young guys I keep around me.
Okay.
I keep them around me because they are very well equipped and very well aware of what's current and what's going on.
Yeah.
What they hear it. I hear them playing it. I hear them doing it. And even if I'm not doing it, even if it's something that I'm not interested in doing it, I hear it and I know what it is.
Yeah.
And I know that if I'm going to attempt to reach that demographic, then I need to know how to speak the language. I need to know what language that is. You know, I need to know how to make that language happen in a way that they'll respond. So it's not about being outdated as much as it's about understanding that I need to have a circle. I need to identify, I need to get a circle that will help keep me grounded and keep me balanced as to what's happening, what's going on. And this is the external part because, you know, spiritually, the spiritual component part of that is understanding this. The Bible says there's a season, there's a time for everything under the sun.
Yeah.
So there's a time to laugh, time to cry, time to be up, time to be down, all of this, right? So, and you understand that. So you don't despise when you're not in a season where it's great. You don't despise it because you understand that's just a part of the journey.
Yeah.
It's not the destination. It's just a part of the journey. But the external part is, what am I doing to keep myself relevant? You know, what am I listening to? What am I hearing? Who am I studying? Because there's a study component to this too. You know, you need to study. You know, you need to study. You don't grow by not studying. Just because you're gifted and you can do something and you practice all day long, that doesn't, you know, that's not all to it.
And your studying is mainly what does your studying look like? You being in the room with those guys, that's your studying, or is it?
That's study for me.
What else?
Watching and listening to their work ethic, how they do things, how they come to things, asking the right questions. How did you get that sound? Okay, I like that. How did you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I you know what? I wouldn't have thought of doing that right there, but you know, that's pretty cool. What made you put that right there?
So it sounds like
I'm analytical, you know. I want to know.
It sounds like a lot of humility, even though people are presuming themselves as humble, it's false humility when you won't ask the questions.
You gotta humble yourself. It is humility. It's humility in the way that when I come to the table or when I come in a room with people, nothing that I've accomplished comes with me.
Wow. Now I have a student who has just been signed, a few of them, as a matter of fact, one with Epic Records and et cetera, and they excel, and then we have a new arrangement. And that's probably, I know for them, one of the hardest aspects is, carrying the accolades and things they've done. And now they're in a new platform and they're having a hard time with maintaining not just humility, but just some very basic characteristics that promote growth. And so I would ask you, it sounds like a lot of things you're speaking to us about has a lot to do with character development. What percentage of character development, internal strength, spiritual fortitude would you say is a part of this? Because you're using a lot of non-musical stuff talking here.
Well, it's the truth. I mean, you got to understand, if you're in a room and you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
So I know you've given us so much of your time. That's just true. I'm just let them marinate on that. Just move on, because I know a lot of my students are like, "Oops, I need to change direction and get out of this room."
You got to understand that you have to have every. Okay, so I'm gonna give you this nugget, and I learned this from somebody else. Every person should have 3 people in their lives or in their circle.
Mm-hmm.
A person they look up to, a person that's walking with them on their journey, on their level, and then a person you're pouring into. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because it helps to balance you. Mm-hmm. It helps to balance you out. I need to have something that's making me reach. Mm-hmm. I need to have something that's making me try to be the best. Mm-hmm. I see that's a goal of mine right there. That's what I want to be, I want to be that. And then the person that's walking with you is saying, you can do this. I believe we can do this. I believe we can, and then somebody you identifying and said, you know what? I was that person at one point. I know what.
I don't want to use up all your time. I have at least 6 minutes and I want the video cut. So I have a couple questions that I want to make sure we squeeze in. Many people don't know that you not only are a songwriter, but that you can sing. Like you can sing. And I did not really know that. Literally, I just sent you a video, I think, where I was like, dude, this is you? I mean, I've heard you kind of hum some melodies, but you can sing. What is it that when do you say that person's a singer? Because a lot of my students, I'll say, look, your job is not to sing. There's a million singers. Your job is to be able to move your audience. Is to be able to transform the room. Then people say, for some reason, she can sing. Everybody's singing, but you're not able to impact the room emotionally. So what is it for you where you're like, oh, I want to write for her, or she is a good singer. He is a good singer.
If she moves me emotionally.
It is moving emotionally.
It's moving emotion. Because I've heard a bunch of people can do a bunch of vocal calisthenics.
Right.
There's a bunch of people out there that can do that. That's wonderful, beautiful, but that ain't never sold a record. Mary J. Blige is probably one of the most pitchiest singers.
Yes, thank you. People think I'm a coach. I'm like, she's pitchy.
But you can't argue with her emotions.
Nope.
You can't argue with how her music makes you feel. You cannot argue with when she says certain things in her songs, and feel it, and you go, wow, she really meant that. And so for me, it's emotional. It's feeling. It's somebody who can translate the story of the song in a very touching and moving way.
Does that mean you're a hollerer? Like, do you need to be a Mary J. Blige to do this?
No, it doesn't mean necessarily that. But her She tells stories.
Yeah.
I mean, but she can sing. She can really, really sing. But she's not running all over the place. She makes sure she tells the story. She brings you along for the ride. And I think that's the beauty of how you sell records too. Back in the day, that was the beauty of how you sold records. When people feel like they can sing with you, it becomes their song. It's not just your song. It becomes theirs. That's my jam. Hey, that's my song.
Right.
It
So
becomes
now,
theirs.
and we'll finish up here on this, unless you have anything else you want to offer. I just want to make sure I gave you room to speak. You were talking about selling records, and we do have that question on here. Okay, how do you make money? Because we're not selling CDs these days.
No, we're streaming now.
It's streaming,
Well,
and there's pennies on streaming. So where are the artists making money? Talk to the singer about monetizing her voice.
I think,
his voice.
You have to, nowadays you got to diversify what it is that you're doing. So, streaming is pennies, but it's not going to always be pennies. I think it's going to level out for the artist eventually.
Oh yeah. Okay. But
I think as an artist, you need to be thinking about your live presentation. And I say that because I've seen a lot of people do a lot of nice records in the studio, but then you go see them live and boy, you understand that the studio helped you do a lot.
Right.
It helped you a lot. Right. So I would say, diversify what it is that you're capable of doing. Don't just be the artist, but learn how to write a song. Learn how to produce a song. Learn how to perform. Write for others. Sing for others. There's all kinds of avenues that will bring you or give you exposure where people will find out who you are. So don't just narrow yourself into I'm just the artist. I'm just the artist. Because if you do that, what are you going to do when being an artist is no longer popular?
Wow. Yeah. And no one thinks about that this is not forever. There are seasons. You're right.
There are seasons.
Wow.
There are seasons.
Well, is there anything else? I mean, goodness, you've given us a lot. Is there anything else that you would leave to your younger self, to especially I'm really thinking about, because I have a lot of hopeful artists, but my ones who are like, I'm getting ready to just turn in the towel. This is obviously not for me. I'm not getting traction. Like, what would you say just to a singer or an artist that you wish someone would have told you? They just didn't have, they had the wrong perspective about what this looks like, about the stardom, the fame, the money, whatever you think comes with this. How would you teach them in this moment? What would you say?
One thing I would tell them for sure is anybody who's in your circle or in your ear who's not celebrating where you are currently, disconnect. That's the first thing.
Wow.
Second is, and the reason, let me define why I say that. I say that because there are many people who have aborted their dream and their vision based upon somebody who's gone nowhere's opinion.
That's good.
So be vigilant about what it is that you want to do and accomplish. And then study somebody who's already done it. Study somebody who's already accomplished what it is that you're attempting to do. There'll be something that you'll gain that'll be a takeaway from them that I guarantee you can add to who you are, and it will add value to who you are. We don't study successful people anymore. We don't. Everybody, we got all these new artists nowadays, and they're great. Don't get me wrong. But there's some old people that you should look at who have, paved the way, and some of them are still around. Smokey Robinson is probably one of the most successful songwriters ever, and he's still around. Study how is it that he's still around?
Yeah.
Why is it that he's still around?
Yeah.
How is it that he could still be around at 70 years old?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The man that wrote JoJo, the white artist, her last big hit was written by an older gentleman. I think he was 70-something years old. Songwriting, being an artist, all of these things require dedication. They require dedication to the craft, dedication to study, dedication to understanding that just because it didn't happen today don't mean it won't happen tomorrow. You got to always have an optimistic view. The view should be, you know what? Dang, I didn't get it today, but I'm going to get it tomorrow. I'll get it next time. And the reason why is because it's funny how the human mind works. The minute we feel defeated and we say it, we're done.
We're done.
We're defeated.
Yeah.
We're defeated.
Yeah.
But we can be defeated, or we could take a loss and be like, man, I'm going to win next time.
Yeah.
And instantly in the mind, all of the mechanisms start turning towards winning.
That's good.
The energy starts turning towards winning. Yeah. So that's the thing I was sharing.
That is so good. Thank you for letting us study you.
Oh,
Thank
no
you
problem.
for being an open book, for being transparent to us, for reaffirming the things that many of you already know. We've talked about this, but you think it's frou-frou, and this is living proof from someone who's done what we're trying to do. Hey, the formula isn't any different. It takes dedication, right? We heard these things. I'm looking at my notes from what he said. It takes you removing the people who are toxic in your life, surrounding yourself with people who believe in where you are at right now. Have we not been saying these things already in our sessions together? Who believes in you right now? It takes studying. There's a level of perseverance and just work ethic that you cannot avoid. It's not just filtering and snapshotting. Right?
That's
You've
right.
got to be able to show up when it's time. And he covered diversifying. Haven't we said that? If you can sing, it's wonderful, but you have to move a room and be able to do it as a background singer, do songwriting. What is the breadth of your skill set and your talent level? Don't box yourself in. Thank you so much, Mr. Percy Bady. This is probably my most exciting interview yet. I'm grateful.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was great. That was great.
All good?